Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, and welcome to At America. Can we have an applause, please, everyone? Yes. Once again, welcome to At America. We are the U.S. Embassy's American Center. And first and foremost, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Genara Jusuf, or you can call me Ara, and I will be the MC for today's event. And for those of you new here, At America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission here is to provide a space for people to learn more about the United States through our programs and also our events. And today's event is the Harvard Din Tonics Celebrating American Excellence Through Jazz a Cappella. Yes, and as mentioned on the title of this event, today we will be learning about a cappella with our speakers today from the Harvard Din Tonics, a signature jazz group from Harvard University. And today we are already joined by our beloved speakers that will share with us everything that you need to know about a cappella. But before we start, we have a social media quiz for our online audience. And the question is it true or false? The term a cappella comes from Italian. If you think you know the answer to this question, you can submit it on our social media platforms. And for those of you who can answer it correctly, will receive a live shout out from us by the end of this event. And ladies and gentlemen, to lead our discussion for today, we're already also joined by our moderator from Indonesia Dance Society. Please welcome William Ongkowidjaja.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's special talk show with the Harvard Din Tonics. We're so excited to have them here in Jakarta. My name is William Ongkowidjaja, and it's a real pleasure to be hosting tonight's conversation. I actually spent a year living in Boston, so having a group from Harvard here in Jakarta feels like a pretty fun connection between two places that are personally meaningful to me. I also sing casually and have performed a few times myself, so I'm especially excited to talk to people who have managed to combine performing, school life, and international travel on a much bigger scale than I have. Please give a very warm welcome to Benjamin Arthurs, Cassidy Crabb, and Allegra Isdar. Let's start by getting to know the three people behind the group. Could each of you tell us where you grew up, what you're studying, and your voice part in the Dins? Cassidy, maybe we can start with you.
All right, so hello, my name is Cassidy Crabb. I'm originally from a small rural town called Sayre in Oklahoma in the US, and I study economics and theater at Harvard.
And Ben?
Sure, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Ben. I'm a rising senior at Harvard. I sing baritone in the Dins, and I grew up in the Chicago area originally.
All right. And finally, Allegra.
Yeah, thank you so much, William. My name is Allegra. I have just graduated from Harvard with my master's degree in human development and education. I'm 21 years old, and I actually grew up in Jakarta, Indonesia. Woo!
Now, take us back to the beginning. How did the Dins first enter each of your lives?
Yeah, I'm happy to start since, I guess I've been in the Dins the longest out of the
Right.
three of us. So I just finished my third year in the Dins. We start out our process essentially. You have to do a brief prelim audition for the group where you sing basically 30, 60 seconds of pretty much anything you want. And then there's a stage of a whole week of callbacks, essentially, where we gradually cut down the pool of people night by night until we eventually choose people on the last night. It's kind of like Pitch Perfect a little bit, if you've ever seen that. For me, it wasn't something I ever thought I was going to do in college. I sang a little bit in high school. And then one day I was leaving Annenberg, our freshman dining hall at Harvard, and somebody who was in the Dins at that time was standing outside with a big sign. He said, "Hey, do you like to sing jazz?" And I said, "No, thanks, I'm good." And I walked away. And then he kind of followed me a little bit, and he grabbed me and he said, "Hey, do you sing at all?" And I was like, "Yeah, I sang a little bit in high school, sure." And he said, "It's only going to take 5 minutes to do a first audition. It's very non-committal. It's just a first step. Why don't you come in and do it?" And I thought, I was a freshman in college. You get told you're supposed to try new things, go out of your comfort zone, all those things. And so I thought, sure, why not? And then ended up getting called back and called back again until it started to become a very real possibility. And then here I am a few years later. So that's how it started. It was kind of random for me in a way, but it's been a really great experience.
Yeah. That's interesting. It sounds like the group came into your life at a very specific moment. Was your route into the DIN similar, or did the group enter your life in a completely different way?
Yeah, I mean, both Allegra and I, we actually joined the group this year. So we were this year's, we call it the baby class. There were 6 of us. I actually joined my sophomore year of college. I, similar to Ben, I did some singing in high school, mostly through musical theater, but I never thought I would do a cappella in college. I was really involved in the theater scene my freshman year, but I think I wanted something that was a bit more of a sustaining community throughout the entire year, and I thought that a cappella would be a great method to do that. So I auditioned my sophomore year, got in, and I'm really excited to be here now.
Yeah. Lastly, Allegra?
Yeah. For me, I think because I had come from a different institution, I went to the University of Michigan for undergrad, where I was in a different a cappella group. We actually did pop music, so it's a very different style from what the Dins do. But I'd always known about the Dins' existence, especially through the viral video that I bet many of you have seen of a past member, Elio, singing Copacabana. So my group was actually a fan of the Dins, and we'd actually come to Harvard one time on tour to collaborate with a different Harvard group. But in my head, I always kind of wished that it was the Dins. I was like, oh, like I wish we could meet these people in the famous jazz video. But I ended up going and attending Harvard, and I kind of battled with myself over whether I should continue doing a cappella. I loved it in undergrad, but actually my mom, shout out mom, she was like, you should stop because she wanted me to focus and lock in on my studies. She was like, you're a master's student now. You are like, you're a real adult. You should maybe like focus on your studies first. And I really considered that, but similarly to Ben, I think because the first night of auditions is so simple, it's so short, and because I was so curious about the world of a cappella at Harvard, I decided to do the 5-minute audition, and here we are.
So it feels like it was something like pretty new to all of you, right? Yeah. And Ben, you're studying astrophysics. Cassidy, you're studying economics alongside theater, dance, and media. And Allegra, your background is in human development and education. So Ben, astrophysics is all about making sense of incredibly complex systems, I presume. Breaking like big questions down until they finally click. I imagine learning a difficult vocal arrangement isn't exactly the same, but do you ever find yourself approaching it with a similar mindset?
Well, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, in a way, like you said, what we do in astrophysics is, I think you said it very well, it's a lot of breaking down really complicated things into really understandable pieces. And I think that that's kind of true of the Din's arrangements in a way. We sing, kind of as Allegra mentioned, we sing in jazz style, which is something that like most people probably don't think of when they think of a cappella. Like if you say a cappella to somebody, they probably think more of the pop style. But what we do is jazz music, which means there's a lot of complicated harmonies, a lot of moving parts. We do even like scat solos and things like that. Like there's some improvisation involved. So it's a lot of complicated parts, and it often I think takes a very long time for us to get a handle on the arrangements. So that's all to say, yeah, it is a little bit similar in the approach of like, yeah, you have to like be able to break it down, break down this big piece into just a measure at a time, and then one note at a time, and then one phrase at a time, and it's all about like building it up from the simple steps into the bigger picture. So it kind of is similar in a way, but two very different parts of my life, of course, yeah.
Cassidy, your degree is an interesting mix because economics often gets associated with logic and analysis, while theater, dance, and media is much more creative and expressive. Do these two sides of your academic life ever come together when you're performing?
Yeah, I would say they really come together maybe, I mean, yes, when I'm performing, but a little more in my other role in the group, which I've been very lucky to, on this tour, be one of the co-tour managers of the Harvard Din Tonics. I actually planned the Asia leg of the tour, so this last month I've been in charge. It's been very fun. And this is kind of, honestly, this whole experience has inspired me in terms of like following economics, which I really love, and business and whatnot, but using that in a more creative way, like in the arts, something like a cappella, theater, etc. Because I was originally just doing economics, but I very recently decided to do TDM as well to kind of merge my two loves in that way.
And Allegra, you spent years studying how people learn and develop, right? Does that ever change the way you give and receive feedback, or even notice how a group comes together over time?
That's an interesting question. I think because, again, like you said, my degree was about constantly learning and how people are learning at every stage of life and how you can recreate yourself. You can always learn and find out new things. I think that makes me personally more receptive and open to new forms of music. Like, again, with jazz, it's something that I've never really done before, and it was really new. Like, on the first night of auditions, I remember I got the sheet music, the paper, and I was like, what is this? I did not know what was going on. But I think when you have an open mind and when you go into it slowly and you ask for support from people, that's another important thing that I've learned is that people are always going to be there for to support you if you ask. And the Dins, we're very good at that, both in the audition process and now. And I think my degree has helped me in noticing how we and other people work together and how we interact. I think more than that, though, it's helped me notice a lot about the world and how music and a cappella and jazz and us as a group can be educational. On this tour, we have visited a number of schools, including today at Sekolah Victory Plus in Bekasi. We also went to, for example, in Singapore, the Pathlight School, which is a school focused on students with autism spectrum disorder, and those were, for example, like very different experiences, and we could see how our music was really impactful for the Indonesian students here, and also for the Singaporean students on the autism spectrum, which I think for me is so interesting and inspiring, and I guess for the Dins as well, for sure. Yeah.
All right. Next, I want to take an even deeper look into your lives as students beyond just your degrees. So, when classes, assignments, performances, and travel all start competing for your attention, what tends to be the hardest part to manage?
I think we have a saying in the Dins. We say family, academics, Dins, and those should be the order of the priorities in your life, right? So.
Yep.
Obviously, anything family matters, personal health, personal life, things like that, of course, come first. But after that, we always like to say, like, your academics should still be a priority in your life. We're all students, of course, in the group, and we're at university to study. And it's not being in the group should never distract from that. Is the idea. It gets hard to manage at points, I think, for sure. The week of the performance, we do one kind of big concert every semester, and the week of that concert is always a lot of rehearsal, a lot of hours, a lot of stress. And it can be hard to manage. The travel tends to be during our breaks for the most part, so it doesn't usually compete necessarily with academics and other things in our lives. But at the same time, it means that we kind of often don't get like a proper restful break the way you would think of it. For instance, like we're spending our summer doing about 10 weeks of travel, which leads almost directly into the next school year. So it's kind of all a juggling act, but I think we get really good at prioritizing our time, yeah.
So that's a shared feeling between all of you.
Yeah, I think like I really have a lot of respect and admiration for Cassidy, for example, who has been the tour manager, as she mentioned, for the whole tour, but especially the Asia leg, when she constantly has to keep planning, keep coordinating with different people. So I feel like you should talk more about that because that's interesting. But for me, I think one facet of at least right now with tour, is I'm also managing a job search. So I've been doing interviews, applying for jobs, managing like the different time zones that we're in. And I think being organized or like trying to prioritize, like again, as Ben said, I guess for me, it would now be like family, jobs, and Dins, because I've now graduated. Now jobs is my new thing. Any feedback or advice would be great. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, for me, related to, I guess, tour planning or Dins in general, I think my biggest thing is going into each semester. I just want to make sure that I have like my priorities straight regarding especially my extracurricular activities. I think there's a big I don't know if I want to say problem, but a lot of students at Harvard are involved in a lot because the thing is it's such a wonderful place and there's so many amazing opportunities. Like you could do 100 different clubs that would let you travel the world, and so it's really hard to choose those things. But I think it's very important to like pick 1 to 2, maybe 3 things that
Yeah.
you really love and care about, and are able to like put your all into those things, as opposed to just giving a little bit of yourself to so many things. And I think doing that has been able to make my experience in the DIN so much better.
That actually ties into something else I wanted to talk about. See, Harvard has such a huge reputation that from the outside, people can build up a very specific image of what life there must be like. What is one thing people imagine about Harvard or about Harvard students that is either completely wrong or at least very different from reality?
I think one thing is, I think there's an image. I mean, there's all sorts of people at Harvard. I think there's an image, kind of that definitely I had coming in. I think that maybe a lot of people have about Harvard. That it's all people who are very like network driven, very career driven, always kind of looking for that next step forward. And I think that's definitely true of some of the Harvard population, and maybe true of all of us in some way. But I think that the truth about Harvard is that there's no like one specific type of Harvard student. I think that just like any other school, they admit such a class of people with wide-ranging interests, and people with a lot of different interests in a lot of cases. And what I found at Harvard has honestly been like a lot of very passionate people who really care about the things that they're doing, whether that's in the classroom or, you know, in our case too, like as an extracurricular activity, and people who are just genuinely kind and genuinely interested in meeting other passionate people. So I think like I definitely, coming into Harvard, had an image of what a Harvard student should be like. But I think personally, one of the things I've learned is that there is no one image of what that person is. And there's, even though the people they admit tend to be very good at what they do, what the people do is very different for everybody. And I think that's been like one nice surprise about Harvard, is just meeting so many people who are passionate about such different things. Yeah.
Would you guys agree with that?
Yes, 100%. I was going to say something similar, but he stole it.
Sorry.
But no, I feel like I came from a very like small rural town. I'd never met someone that had gone to an Ivy League or Harvard before. We had our admitted students weekend my freshman year. So I was very much so like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to be so smart and like pretentious and scary. Yeah. But the truth is, it's just like, it's people, you know what I mean? And I think getting to know people on that really like personal level and becoming close friends has really just made the college experience so much less intimidating.
Yeah, I think I would agree with what both of them have said. I was going to say something similar to Ben also, and he also stole what I was going to say. But I can tell you things about Harvard that people think are true, because I was an outsider to Harvard at first. I mean, like Ben and Cassidy like attend the college, so they've been there since their freshman year. But I came in as a grad student, having attended somewhere else. So something that was interesting to me is I think people have this image of Harvard like prestigious, mysterious, they have like exclusive traditions, and then coming into the DINs showed me that, because for example, in our audition process, which is very long, as I think Ben mentioned earlier, what they do when they want to call you back to the next round is instead of calling you, texting you, or emailing you, the DINs will actually write like in beautiful cursive handwriting, like, "Dear Mr. Arthurs, you have been invited to like come to the second round of auditions, wherever," and then they seal it in an envelope, and did you do the wax seal this year?
Yeah, we do a wax seal.
They do a wax seal, which I thought was crazy. And then they would have like champagne at the auditions. They were serving like beautiful cakes and everything. And so I was like, whoa, this is kind of exactly what I thought Harvard would be like. But again, these people are pretentious, they don't really care about you. One other thing, and we were just talking about this, and this is something new that I learned, is I think these people at Harvard, they're so smart, they're amazing, but they're also very sensitive to the world and other people. One unique thing about the DINs is that in that audition process, we have to let go of some auditionees that we can't take. Like we can only take a certain number of people into the group that will make it in. And Ben was just telling Cassidy and I that the DINs, and I guess Cassidy knew this, but I didn't. The DINs reject people in person. So when you don't make it into the group, and Ben used to be the president, so he can, I guess, tell you more about this, but him or president and music director would individually go to wherever the auditionees' houses are that they didn't make it in, really early in the morning, and they would say, hey, like, we're really sorry, but you didn't make it into the Dins this year. And the Dins are the only group, apparently, the only a cappella group, jazz or not, that does this. And learning about this, I'm like, oh my gosh, why would you want to do that? It seems like it would be hard for both the people breaking the news and to receive this kind of news. I would hate to be rejected in person. I think, like, I'd be like, okay. But and Ben can tell you more about the ethos behind it as he was telling us, but it's actually like, yeah, you should say, like,
Well,
why.
no, that's a great point. Yeah, and I mean, as Allegra said, it's in-person rejections for everyone who makes it up to the last night of auditions. And yeah, I mean, I'm not the one who started it, so I can't actually speak to what the founding idea was. But the way I've always kind of understood it, which I think Allegra was leading to, is like our audition process is almost a week long in total. It's a very, very long process with a lot of rounds. You have to learn a lot of music, meet a lot of people, socialize a lot, and you're doing this for like as many groups as you want to audition for all at once during the same week. So the auditionees are putting a lot in, and for a lot of people, they care a lot about getting into the group. They're putting a lot of heart and effort into it. And I've always thought about it that it's so easy for us to sort of, when we decide we're not going to admit them to the group, to just send them kind of a form email that we send to everybody that says, sorry, you didn't make it in, better luck next time. But it requires a lot more of us to actually go to their door and talk to them in person. And I think it's a good show of respect sort of for the amount of time that they've put in and the care with which they approach the audition process. And so even though, as Allegra said, I was on the end of doing this last year, and it's not a fun thing to do to reject somebody in person, but I think that's part of the point almost, is that it forces us to go out of our comfort zone just as they're going out of theirs. And so, yeah, it can be hard, but it is meant to be a show of respect for their time. Yeah.
And then that's what I was getting at, is that you can conceive of people at Harvard as these like cold, unfeeling, like genius, whatever people, but cold, unfeeling, genius people wouldn't do that and wouldn't like have the heart to come and reject people in person and really respect them for their time and really talk to them. So when I heard this today, I was like, wow, this is a good group. Yeah.
And Allegra, you grew up here and then went on to study at Harvard, right? Yes. So when you first moved to the United States, what was the biggest adjustment for you? Could be something major or just something everyday?
A lot. Everything is different there. Everything is bigger. The roads are bigger. The supermarkets are bigger. There's like a bunch of supermarkets for different things. People are really friendly. I think one thing that surprised me was the amount of things you could do. They say, I don't know, like, America is a free country or whatever. And I don't really think I knew what that meant until I got there, where it's like, wow, there is so much freedom and you get to do what you want to do. For example, in Boston, and this is something that I experienced specifically living in Boston this year, which maybe like you know about since you were in Boston as well. But for example, it's like, oh, I wake up today and I really want to go to the museum, like to a beautiful museum, and appreciate art. I can hop on the train in Boston and like go 20 minutes, the train is super fast, to like the most beautiful museum ever. Or I want to go to a park, I can do that. It's like, I feel like the infrastructure, everything is so good, and everything is made really for the people, like especially in like a walkable, good city like Boston, I think in general is one thing. And then in school, this also applies to, Cassidy was saying that at Harvard, there's like 100 clubs you could join, which is true. Like even at my college, at my university, and in my graduate studies, there are so many opportunities to do whatever you want to do. And if there isn't the opportunity, you can create you can make the club. You can ask people to join you. People will want to join you. You can say, you can express yourself in many different ways. And I think that's a beautiful part about the US and studying there.
So you guys have pretty different individual backgrounds, right? But once you're in the Dins, all of your different personalities and experiences have to become one group on stage. What do you think is the hardest part of making a group with very different people feel like one complete unit?
Okay, I think that's a great question. I think there's a couple things. I think one, Allegra kind of alluded to this earlier. We have people with very different musical backgrounds. We have people who are trained singers, who are trained classical musicians, who have done music and read music and become really good sight readers all their lives, and done piano lessons, voice lessons, things like that. And we have people who have never really sung before or who have not done that much music before college. And so I think one of the challenges is sort of unifying all these people to the same page. People who are really good music theorists and really understand how sheet music works, and maybe people who don't even read music, but just sort of are good singers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think one of the challenges is unifying all of our different sounds and backgrounds to get this sort of one collective sound that we want to make. A cappella being unaccompanied, is one of the most important parts is creating a blended, unified sound without any instruments. And then I think another thing socially is, as you said, all our backgrounds are very different.
Yep.
We spend a lot of time together. During the year, we obviously rehearse a lot. And then during our breaks, we're traveling for as few as 3 weeks, as many as 10 weeks at a time, all in close quarters that entire time. So we like to say if you're not best friends at the start of the tour, you'll be best friends by the end of the tour. But it really is, I think it can be a challenge at first to meet and work with so many people who are so different from you. But I think kind of like as a microcosm of college itself, almost, one of the really beautiful things about it is that you're kind of forced to all come to the table together and sort of like, despite your different individual challenges that you face getting ready to perform in the group and your different levels of experience, like it's getting everybody both socially and musically on the same page. And the other thing that's hard about that is that it's different every year. The group changes every year, the people are different every year, the leadership is different every year. So you're constantly readjusting and things are always a little bit different. So we have to be really good at like thinking on the fly as well. Yeah.
And something, and this is a little unrelated, but something when we're doing auditions, we look for something that's called like dinniness, and this is not necessarily something. We are from very different backgrounds, but I would say something that we all bring to the table, I would say, is this dinniness, which sounds stupid. It's kind of like this bright, like kind, nice energy. I feel like everyone in the group, even though we have like different backgrounds, different stories, different personality traits, like we all share this like brightness, I would say, and I think that it shows in our performances as well. Like, I think that one thing that's really special about the Dins is when we perform, you can really tell we're friends. You know what I mean? Like we're having a good time, and I think that that's livens it up both for us as well as the audience.
I was going to say what Cassidy said, the dinniness, which you could see if you came to our performance tomorrow.
Yeah. So you guys clearly have a ton of chemistry, but that kind of chemistry doesn't just happen by itself. Someone has to help keep everything moving behind the scenes. We already kind of alluded to this before, but Cassidy, as co-tour manager, what is something that happens behind the scenes that the audience would probably never realize is part of putting on a show or taking the group on tour?
Yeah, I think the biggest like person that is to not to blame to account for us is our music director, Kieran Chung. He has organized all of our like rehearsals. We do rehearsal for about 8 hours every single week. He also arranged, I think, like 5 or 6 songs for this semester, like working with each person individually, like when we don't understand things on our solos or on the like block, which is what we call when we sing as an entire group. So I think just like Kieran Chung alongside, like we have like president, business manager, just those people that are working behind the scenes. They really don't always get all the accolades because you just see the performers. You don't necessarily see all the time that like 1 or 2 people have put in to making it sound so good. But yeah, I would just give props to him.
And Ben, you've of course had a major leadership role as President Emeritus. When you look back at your time leading the Dins, what is something about leadership that you understand now that you probably didn't understand back when you first joined?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that one thing that stuck with me leaving last year is that especially in a group like the Dins, we're sort of, as you've alluded to a bit, like we're all very close friends as well as sort of colleagues, so to say, in this professional atmosphere, is that you have to lead with care for people. I think that's one of the most important things I learned being president. Yes, there's certain things that you have to do and that people have to do as part of the group, and there's certain times that you might need to be stricter as a leader in order to make sure the group continues to run smoothly. And like any organization, there's always hard decisions involved in being a leader. But I think that the most important thing I learned is that like being careful how you treat people is really important, not only because we're friends and we want to remain good friends for a long time, But because the group genuinely like thrives and succeeds better, I believe, when people are really enjoying it. And I think that's something that's super important. You know, we can go to 8 hours of rehearsal a week and do all these performances, and if we're not enjoying the experience of being in the group, it will show on stage, and our performances won't be as good, and we won't be able to achieve as much. And so I really learned, and I think believe pretty firmly that like the more we enjoy and are genuinely passionate about the things that we're doing, like the better results we can achieve. So that's something I think that stuck with me a lot after being a leader in the group. Yeah.
And Allegra, from the perspective of being part of the group, what makes leadership feel effective from the inside?
I think what Ben said is a lot of it, feeling like you're genuinely cared for and your perspectives and your feelings are genuinely considered. Cassidy mentioned Kieran earlier, our music director, and like what he would do for us. I guess like all music directors in the Dins would have to do this, but just to give like a more specific picture, Kieran would, for example, he would lead and take out time from his own schedule to meet for 1 hour with me and like the other voice parts, the other people in my voice part, and just make sure that we understood all the music. And like he doesn't have to do that, but in him doing that, it makes sure that we all know what we're doing and we don't feel lost ever. And he does this like every single week for every single voice part. Sometimes if people need more assistance, he will give that assistance. That's an example. So like in him doing that, I really feel like, oh, like I'm never alone in this. I always have someone to help me. If I have questions, I don't have to fear. I can ask Kieran, or if I have questions about tour, I can lean on Cassidy. And I think being like a proactive member yourself, even or just like being a member of the Dins, you also have that responsibility to help your friends and help whoever you see needs that help in that way, if that makes sense. I think that's something that like Harvard teaches you too, is that anywhere you are, like whether you have like a leadership position or you don't, you are still like an active participant in making the experience for both you and the leader, you and the other members. And in that sense, like you are also like a leader, if that makes sense. Yeah, and I think all the Dins are really good at this, and we all try to be pretty aware of how we're acting and like what needs to be done. So I think that sense, yeah. But I think all the leaders that I've had this tour and this experience with the Dins have been great.
I think it's clear now that you spent a lot of time rehearsing and traveling together. And like you said, everyone's personalities becomes pretty obvious to you. So let me put a few situations to you. First, imagine everyone has been scrolling on their phones till far too late, someone has forgotten to pack something important, and the group has to leave for the airport in the morning. Who is the person you trust to make sure everyone actually gets out of the hotel?
I mean, that's kind of her job.
Yeah, unfortunately.
As tour manager, Cassidy will send out the announcements like the day before. She'll be like in all capitals, call time, ... 7 a.m. Meet at the lobby. Don't be late. But like still like in a nice way. And so I guess it's like on her to make sure we're all there.
I do unfortunately think people get a little annoyed with me at times, especially on the 4 a.m. flights, but you gotta do it, you know?
And on the other side of that, who's most likely to have the most chaotic travel habits?
Like Alex Gale.
Maybe. Or maybe Mark, actually.
Maybe Mark. Oh,
yeah.
Mark, if you're watching this, I don't know if he's here. He said he was going to come.
He said he was good. Yeah. Yeah,
Mark?
maybe Mark.
Oh.
Probably
Mark and
Mark.
Alex are like our two basses. We have
Yeah.
3 basses, and they're both basses. They're both like really tall.
Yeah.
That's like not relevant. Yeah,
It's
but
like
Mark,
they have more to pack.
yeah, they have more.
Yeah.
They have more to pack, and I feel like Mark, he like sometimes walks really leisurely. Like, you know, like it'll be like, oh, we have 10 more minutes to go to the boarding gate, and the boarding gate is 10 minutes away, and Mark will be like,
Or like he's like just coming out of the shower and like.
Wait, see, my thing is Alex has lost 3 water bottles already on tour.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that happens. I think. I think that's one of the other things. I think
his
like-
laundry is at my grandma's house right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
There
wait.
you go. We love
wait.
them.
We do. It's all about like you said, in the traveling sense too. You kind of have to adjust to people whose travel habits might be very different from yours, and all
Yep.
come to the common ground. Yeah.
Jokes aside, though, every group ends up developing little traditions that becomes part of its identity. The Dins have the suits, the green accents, and of course, the green socks. Speaking of the socks specifically, Ben, I know there's actually a story behind them. So where did that tradition come from?
Basically, the group didn't start out wearing green socks initially. So the socks.
Really?
Our group name is the you guys are gonna learn something now.
Ben like knows everything. 'Cause I don't know.
The group is the Din and Tonics, which is the pun on the drink, the gin and tonic.
Yep.
So din is a very loud, ugly sound, and tonic is like the tonic note of a scale. So then you get din and tonics from gin and tonics. And so the gin and tonic, the drink, often is served like with a lime in it, as cocktails are. And so the lime green was sort of adopted as the color of the group. But we didn't start out wearing green socks. That's actually something that kind of happened partway through the group's existence. So we started out just wearing like normal tails, tuxedos essentially. And the idea behind the green socks, partly it's in keeping with this sort of lime spirit and like tradition, like that's our mascot, our color, whatever you want to call it. It's also a little bit, the idea is a little bit, I think, to make fun of the like whole like quote unquote Harvard College a cappella thing, right? Like the idea that like at the end of the day is pretty silly to have like 12, 13, 14 Harvard students like dressed up in tuxedos, like singing a cappella music together, you know? And we like to say we take our music seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. I mean, I think it's part of that, like being willing to be silly and acknowledge kind of the inherent silliness of what we're doing. And I think that's what kind of drives a lot of our performance as a group. And so that's kind of like the ethos behind the socks, if you will. Yeah.
That's a cool story. So everything we've talked about so far, the academic lives, the travel, group dynamics, eventually leads to the moment where you walk onto a stage. And tomorrow, that stage is here in Jakarta. Allegra, you grew up here. What does it feel like to come back and perform in the city where you grew up, but now is part of an international touring group?
It feels unreal, amazing, and terrifying. Unreal because I feel like a lot of my friends from the United States, they know of Indonesia and they know I am from Indonesia and they know of my love for my home country and my hometown, but they rarely do come over here. I think simply because it is just so out of the way and it's pretty far, pretty expensive to come all the way from the US. And like, if you guys ever want to come back again, like, please do. And like, I'm always gonna be here. So it feels really unreal to just be like on the streets that I drove every day, and then like, wait, there are like 12 other Dins with me, like in the bus right now. Like they're seeing all this. Like this is where I grew up, and it's so crazy that they traveled all the way here. Because, for example, we do a winter tour every year where it's like in January, I think, and then it's domestic, so tour in America. And for example, we visited Ben's home in Chicago. Maybe in the future, the Dins will visit Oklahoma to see Cassidy's home. So I feel like I've always known that, oh yeah, like we do visit some Dins' homes, like Ben's home and then like other people's homes, but I could never conceive of a situation where like 13 of these friends from Harvard are coming here to my home, seeing all of this. So unreal, amazing, of course, because that is all very exciting, very amazing. I'm so happy to show my friends the place that I call home, and also show my home, my friends, and these amazing people, and also our music, our performance, and I hope that people really love it. And also terrifying because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if they don't like Jakarta? Which, what do you think?
We love Jakarta.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's good for now. What if? Oh, I can't say what if Jakarta doesn't like them. What do you guys think of them? No, I'm kidding. I think that's not really I think I just really want the performance to be good for the people here, and I know that it will be good because the Dins and these people are good. I personally just want to really do my best. Like if I have any solos, I really want to make sure that they're good. And then one other thing is On tour, I think we try our best when we visit different stops to have a special song for each stop. So, for example, when we were in Japan, the Dins learned an arrangement of a beautiful Japanese song fully in Japanese called Hanawasaku. When we were in Singapore, we learned a song called Home Singapore, which is one of their national songs in English, but it's still like a song that's very important to the Singaporean people. In Vietnam, we collaborated with a choir, and we also learned an arrangement of a Vietnamese song. Oh, in Singapore and China and Hong Kong, we performed The Moon Represents My Heart, which maybe a few of you know. And so I personally really wanted to have something special for Indonesia as well. And so kind of last minute, I came up with an arrangement of Indonesia Pusaka for the Dins to perform. And I was really nervous about this arrangement because I was like, what if they don't like it? What if they don't like it? What if I sound bad? I think it's just thoughts that like performers have and like people have. But I think we're here. I'm grateful. We're grateful. I'm grateful to have the space to even have this song, to have my friends here. And I think despite the fear, we will keep going. I will do my best, and I hope everything will be good.
So that's what everyone's going to see tomorrow, right? But I'm also curious about everything the audience doesn't see, what goes on behind the scenes. So without giving away the entire show, what does preparing for a performance like tomorrow's actually involve? What has to happen before the audience ever sees the first song?
I mean, there's a lot of steps that go into it. It starts, if you really want to go way back, it starts in September of 2025 when we accept our new members, including Cassidy and Allegra this year, into the group. Then we spend all of our academic year. We perform during the school year, of course. We learn most of our music over the course of the school year. We come on tour. We learn more songs over the course of tour. Allegra was saying we've added a song specifically for our stop here in Jakarta, which we've all sort of like, as Allegra said, like a little bit at the last minute, come together to learn because we're very passionate about it. But for an average performance, I think like this involves, and feel free to add on like anything I missed, but I think this goes on like getting to the venue early, being prepared, bring our tails, getting changed sometimes. Sometimes we get nice green rooms. Sometimes it's like cramming into a bathroom stall and throwing our tuxedos on, right? Like you never know what it's going to be. Being really flexible with the space. Sometimes we're in like big, beautiful concert halls with lots of microphones. Sometimes we're in smaller spaces. Sometimes we're in medium-sized spaces. We might or might not have like the right number of microphones, however you want to define that. Things like that, like that are always a little bit different everywhere we go, and being flexible to change and go with the situation no matter what. We sound check before all of our shows, make sure that things sound good. The music director usually goes out and kind of walks around the audience and listens a little bit. We make a different set list for each of our shows. We have about 25 to 30 songs in our repertoire, and we kind of mix and match for each situation. So our music director, Kieran, will sort of make a set list for each concert and send it out to us, along with who's soloing each song. We tend to have a couple people who can solo any given song, and it changes day to day. So like it's literally like waking up, and you wake up that morning, you get the set list, and you see, okay, I'm soloing this song, and maybe sometimes that's the first song of the day, and you got to be ready for that. So you never really know what it's going to be, but it's about being flexible. Another thing that we do, and I don't want to give away too much, partly because I don't want to give it away, and partly because I don't know, but we do kind of little jokes and things like that, and introductions and bits, and all of our sets. Those change pretty much every single day. We often make them up shortly before the performance. So it's also about surprising each other a little bit to try to keep it interesting after so many weeks. Yeah, I don't know if I'm missing anything, but...
That was very comprehensive, I think.
Thanks, I try.
And you want to?
No, I just said good job.
Speaking of the music itself, is there a song or style of arrangement in the show that is particularly demanding from a musical or vocal perspective? Without revealing anything you don't want to reveal about tomorrow's show.
We have some arrangements that are more difficult than others. There are some particularly that are like orchestral arrangements or even like piano arrangements originally that have been like adapted. For example, we have a song called the John Williams Suite that is a suite of many different songs that were composed by John Williams, like from the movies, like E.T., Star Wars, etc. So like having our voices do what those instruments are doing is quite difficult at times, but it's also very fun and rewarding to learn those songs and to like over the course of the year and tour kind of in a way, like master those songs and really
Yeah.
get it down is really great.
Now let's end the music section with a bit of a fantasy question. No scheduling conflicts, no budget problems, no conflicting tour dates. If the Dins and Tonics could collaborate with any artist in the world, who would be the dream collaboration for the group?
With an artist
Yep,
alive.
dead or alive.
The Harvard crocodile. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I think that I think that a dream would be somebody like Frank Sinatra, who has soloed, done covers of a lot of the different songs we do, because he does a lot of jazz standards as we do. Somebody who I think is very like emblematic of like this kind of American jazz standard that is most of but not all of what we do. I think you could also have like I'm trying to think of like a musical theater singer, because we have some. Yeah, go ahead. Wait, or
No,
what?
I was gonna say like a sneaky like Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Though I think it would be funny if it was like a really poppy person, like
Yeah,
it's
it
like
would.
Dins, and then
Ariana Grande.
literally.
Yeah, right, yeah.
We have many Dins that would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
Yeah, you know, if the budget is really big,
Yeah.
then we can do something like that.
Oh, oh, but we were talking about like, well, not really like dream places, but we mentioned just now like it would be really great to perform like in Bali. Like if the Dins could go to Bali, like imagine like no budget in Bali, bro.
Guys, if anyone wants us 2028 tour, hit me up.
Yeah. But yeah, we have our own, like, I think everyone has their own kind of list of like dream places they want to go as well. If the budget and the dates and everything were to all work out. Yeah.
Next, as someone who also enjoys singing and performing, I want to ask one question for the younger people watching. What advice would you give to someone who enjoys performing but is still trying to build the confidence to take it seriously?
I think this is a good question, especially in Indonesia. I don't think, at least comparatively and relatively to the US, that there are as many spaces to develop this kind of confidence and to practice. I know something that really amazes me about the US is from like early childhood, like when you're in preschool, you can, like it's very common to start doing musical theater, to start doing choir, to start public speaking, and then like in school sometimes, like I have friends who in their high schools they already had a cappella groups, whereas for me, like when I came to the US, I like didn't even know that a cappella was like real. I thought it was just a thing in Pitch Perfect, and like that it wasn't like a real thing people did. I was like, oh, they made up this concept for this movie, it must not be real. And then I was like, oh, so it's real. So I think maybe in Indonesia, it's a bit difficult. Even today, like at Sekolah Victory Plus, I talked to a few students who were like, what do you think I should do? Like if I'm interested in singing, but like there's nowhere really for me to sing. Like my own school didn't have a musical theater program, but I was always like a fan and never got to do it. So I would say, as much as you're able, do like a lot of, if you love it truly, I think you'll do this naturally, but like figure out what kind of music or arts that you like, figure out artists, figure out styles, listen to a lot of music, and then like if it's singing, like just sing as much as you can, wherever you can. Like I'm very lucky that I had a family that really supported my love of music, and it's full of musicians too. My dad is a great musician, my grandfather is a great musician, he loves doing karaoke, so I think that's where I learned to sing, is like at karaoke at his house. So like any opportunity that you have, take, which includes if like there is a chance to go somewhere that has better opportunities to do that, where like if it's a different school or if it's a different, like moving to the US, which is a very like large and like big step. But the moment I moved to the US, all these doors opened up, and then suddenly I had so much more of these spaces to practice this confidence, to meet other people who are like-minded and also incredibly talented. I think a lot of it is also when you're in these spaces, you meet people who are so much better than you, and it's like, and you get inspired all over again, and you're like, wow, I can't believe people like this really exist, and I get to be with these people, I get to sing, I get to learn from these people. And it doesn't just go for singing, but for anything else. So I would say just keep researching, keep doing it as much as you can in daily life, seek out opportunities, and then like never stop learning, and then keep challenging yourself.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything Allegra said. I think the biggest thing I've learned in college, kind of along that note, is there's no such thing as being perfectly prepared as a performer, as an artist. And you can never reach a level of being what you would consider in your mind to be the perfect person for the job or for the performance. And what's more important than being able to think of yourself as perfectly prepared is to be willing to take the leap of faith and take a chance that what you do might be well received. And to, as Allegra said, not be afraid to surround yourself with people who you might think are better than you. Because I think that's how you learn and how you grow. And yeah, to not be afraid to take a chance, even if it might not work out, I think is really important.
All right, pivoting a bit to the local culture here, since Allegra is the Jakarta representative of the group, I have to ask Cassidy and Ben, what Indonesian word or phrase has she taught you that you guys are actually using?
I learned one today. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because I might have, in the last few hours, I might have misplaced it. I think it's Jangan Mati, which means don't die. Is that right? Yeah, okay, that seems right. Which is something I had to say in the performance today. That, speaking of preparing for performance, I learned about 5 minutes before we went on stage. So I don't know how useful that's going to be like day to day during my time here. Hopefully not useful, but...
You learned the other one too.
Oh, adu.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, which means oh no, I think. Yeah, okay.
Correct, yeah.
Things I had to use in the performance today. We did at school earlier today, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great time to ask that question, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We also have another... wait, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, we have another member named Mark who is very interested in learning languages. Like, wherever we go, he's very, very interested in, like, oh, how do I say this? How do I say this? And then a few days... Oh, no, in Singapore, actually. So, like, maybe more than a week ago, he started this, like, online Indonesian learning free course. It has, like, 3 modules. And then the very first day, and he's very good at learning language. Like, he completely taught himself Mandarin fluent. He also knows... What does he know?
Spanish and French.
Spanish and French and English. It's like to the point where he taught himself to the point where he can like read like hard literature in Chinese. So I didn't even know he was learning in Singapore, but he came up to me and he's like, Anda apa kabar? And then, which means like, oh, how are you? And then I was like, oh, baik, kamu? And then he was like, I expected him to just say like, oh, like, baik juga. Like, I don't know, like, just also say, I'm good. But he learned, biasa saja, which means like, oh, like, I'm okay. Like, it's like whatever. And then the next day we went to a cinema to watch a movie. And then he just kept learning. So he was like, Anda mau kemana? And I was like, aku mau nonton di bioskop. I'm gonna watch in like this cinema. You guys you know about this one. And then he was like, oh, saya kira kamu mau ke sekolah. And I was like, what? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would I sekolah? And he was like, saya kira Anda mau ke pabrik. Which means, like, I thought you were going to the factory. And I was like, what? Why would you think? It's apparently, like, part of the modules that he's learning from. So he knows many of these words, and I think he's having a lot of fun, like, using them on my grandma. Maybe not, like, all of them, but, like, he knows how to say thank you, how to ask for food. So I think he's having a fun time. And then Ben knows how to say aduh, jangan mati. So, yeah.
And I'm guessing you guys have tried some local food here in Indonesia. Do you like how they generally taste, or what's your favorite one?
I had something this morning that was really interesting to me, which was the snake fruit.
Ooh.
Salak.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That which was something I had never, like, it kind of looks like a dragon egg to me. Like, I was really, like, they were like, here, try this. And I was like, what is that? But it was actually really good. It didn't taste like I expected it to taste. But I quite liked it, actually. I thought it was really good. That's one thing I've tried so far. But I can't wait to see what else you have in store for us in these next couple of days. Yeah, also, yeah.
We're going to eat satay right after this, so...
I don't know what that is, but I'm really excited about it.
Wait, actually, I don't know about that. Ben also has... Okay, wait, maybe... Can I say that?
Yeah,
okay, like Ben... Ben actually like is in a precarious position because he has a lot of allergies. He's allergic to all nuts, so like tree nuts, pistachios. Like he can't eat pesto, peanuts. So actually, like satay sauce is gonna be a problem. So I actually don't really know about that one. And also sesame and sesame oil. Jadi kayak minyak wijen, he can't really have. So we have to be really careful. So we will feed you as best as we can while making sure you are safe.
That's one of the advantages of traveling, I think, with people who understand the local food and language and culture, is being able to find things that I actually can try that are local and authentic, which is much easier than it would be just for me on my own. Yeah,
So Allegra is sort of your local tour guide.
in a way, yeah, for sure. She's like my protector a little bit.
So before we go to the Q&A, I want to end with one question that brings everything we've talked about together. After someone watches the Din Tonics perform tomorrow, what is one thing you hope they take away from the experience?
I think it's that, I mean, there's a lot of things that I hope they take away. I hope they have a great time, first of all, and I hope they buy some merchandise, second of all. Third of all, I think one thing for me, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think it's to take away that, like, even though what we care very much about what we do, like, performance doesn't always have to be serious, and like, we do have some serious songs in our set and more somber songs, but a lot of our songs, those of you who come tomorrow will get to see this, like, we have a lot of like kind of more comedy numbers, funny numbers, things like that, things that sort of like break the mold a little bit of what you would think of as a cappella or even as jazz music. It's this very, I think, like niche style that we have. So I would hope that people would take away that doing what we do, sort of their idea of what a Harvard a cappella group is, that we might not actually be that, and that we would be something different, and that, yeah, it's not always so serious, and part of it, the most important thing is having fun on stage and just enjoying what you do as a performer.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think what I would like to see them take away from it is like a sense of inspiration. I think when I first saw the Dins and saw what they do, these world tours, it seemed very just like fantastical to me. But just like the feeling that if you do pursue something like the arts, something you're really like you love, you might be able to have opportunities like this. And I think that's been something special, especially when we perform with like high schoolers, kids, you know what I mean, showing just like what there is in the world that could be possible. Yeah.
Seconding Cassidy. I just hope that, especially for the young Indonesians out there, maybe who want to study abroad or who are performers, who are singers, like Cassidy said, I hope that when they see us and when they see the performance, they are inspired, and then they realize that, oh, this is, again, something that exists in the world. Like jazz a cappella is a thing. It's an option, and it's something that they can strive for, because it absolutely is. Like seeking out that opportunity. I think it starts with knowing that the opportunity is there and having the space to reach for it, and the encouragement. I hope it encourages people to follow what they want and do whatever they dream of.
So Ben, Cassidy, Allegra, thank you so much. We've talked about the people behind the group, life at Harvard, the realities of touring, and the music you'll be bringing to Jakarta tomorrow. But I'm sure there are a few questions that we haven't thought of, and probably questions that are much more interesting than the ones I came up with. So now we're going to open the floor to the audience. You can ask about Harvard, music, performing, the Dins, or anything else you've been curious about. If you have a question, please raise your hand and wait for the microphone to reach you so everyone can hear you clearly. We're also going to be entertaining questions from the online audience, of course. Who would like to start us off?
Hi, hello guys. My name is Melfi. I'm actually part of a choir in my company, so this is why I'm joining here today. I'm quite excited to see you guys. My question is there any kind of, tradition before you're going out to or rocking on the stage that it's only the Deans have, like something like that?
I don't know if there's a tradition before walking on stage. I mean, like, I guess this is not a tradition, but it's not a tradition, but it's like we have this. Our formation is called a shoe, and then it's like we either go and we line up. I just found this like really like endearing and orderly about the Dins. It's like we're like, okay, like go like shoe or reverse shoe. So reverse shoe means that Kang, the president, goes first, and then it's me, and then it like switches, and then like we always walk on, and like in general with our performance, we have like our arms behind our backs, standardizedly. So, and we will like walk on with our arms behind our, I don't know, I just feel like before we go on stage, I like put my arm behind my back, and that's like the thing that I do for Dins. Yeah.
This is not something we do before every single show, but I was thinking we have 2 big performances during the school year, and that is our jam. We have one in the fall and one in the spring. And every time before jam, we often have a lot of alumni come back to watch us. Either that be people who are maybe still at the college, but maybe not in the group anymore, or who have like traveled from New York or California or wherever to come see us. And they all come down to our green room. We all huddle up. Some of the older people, they give us some words of wisdom, etc. People in the group talk. It's just very special. And I think that's a really great way to interact with the alumni community as we're, about to go on stage. It's just very nice. I enjoy it.
Really quick, one that's much less serious than that is this we do before all of our performances on tour. We have a song called Copacabana that you might know, where in that song, somebody has to play the role of Lola, the showgirl in the song. We actually assign this completely at random for every performance. So we all get together backstage and we have like we put a wheel of names on somebody's phone and we spin it and we all watch. This is like 5 minutes before we go on usually, and whoever it lands on just has to do it, no questions asked. So that's something that's a little ritual that we have. And sometimes we forget and we're like about to go on and somebody's like, "Who's Lola?" And we're all like, "Oh my God, we still got to figure that out." So you're going with the flow.
Thank you for the question.
Another question?
Hi everyone, my name is Mira. I'm also interested in music and singing. I had a bit of experience being in a choir when I was in high school. So my question is, what is specifically challenging about being in a jazz a cappella group? Is it like the arrangement, or is it like the vocal techniques, or is it something else that outsiders don't even think about? And especially, I think Allegra said in the beginning, I think you were in a pop a cappella group or something. Like, how did you adjust to like this new type of music? And also maybe one more question. I'm also curious about how you train. Like, do you have an outsider, like a professional who comes and like practice with you, or is it like an upperclassman, or do you do it among yourself, or something else? Yeah. So I guess that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for jazz specifically, and this was a surprise for me, especially after my last group, was in jazz, there are a lot of different rhythms. Just rhythms. And I specifically struggle with rhythms. I'm not the best sight reader, so when you see a lot of these rhythms on the page, I get really...
It's daunting, yeah.
Yeah, like I get really intimidated, and I'm like, I don't understand this. I don't know how to do this. But with your follow-up question, usually our music director, Kieran, he is the one, and he's just a member. Like he's just a like he is a member. Like he is a student just like us. He is going on his 4th year, I think now. Yeah, and then we also have Mark and Kalashri, who are assistant music directors, currently stepping in as music director for the Jakarta and following stops, but they will be the ones to like help us both with the things that we don't understand, such as rhythms for me, and just in general. Like they're the ones that help us and give us feedback about our sound and other things. Yeah.
Another question? All right.
Hi, selamat malam.
Selamat malam.
Okay, my name is Disa, and I would like to ask a question. I don't know if this have been asked before because I was kind of late. Or sorry. I would like to know from 3 of you. Please answer. Why do you choose Dins? I mean, like there are callbacks, there are crocodillos, opportunes.
Okay. I know. Wait, how do you know?
I am a I stream all of yours. So yeah, I really like to listen to you when I'm like doing my essay paper. Yeah, so that really helps me. So yeah, I would like to hear why do you guys choose Dins other than others a cappella group? Thank
Wait,
you.
are we your favorite though?
No, you are.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I feel like when I was looking at the groups, I think as someone who is a little bit more of a theater kid and likes, I don't know, the chalantness of it all, I really enjoyed, like I was discussing earlier, the dinniness of the group, and you can just tell like when they are performing, or even just like seeing the members individually. Like I had met Ria, was one of the first Dins I met. You can just tell like the light and energy that they have, and that was one of the things that initially drew me to the group, as well as the fact that a lot of them are theater kids, and I resonate with that. So.
Yeah, totally. I would say I said this a couple times now, so sorry if I sound like a bit of a broken record. But just the Din's willingness to just have fun with what they do. I think that a big thing for me, seeing all the groups perform. Don't get me wrong, the Dins are a professional group, and we take our music very seriously, and we rehearse very hard and all these things. And we do, sort of as Allegra was saying earlier, we do music because it's complicated jazz arrangements that's particularly difficult. And is often very hard and requires a lot of our own time investment. But despite all these things, every time I saw the Dins perform when I first came to Harvard, and every time I've performed with the Dins, the whole ethos is that the more fun you have on stage, the more fun the audience is going to have. And at the end of the day, like it is founded on the principle of like just having fun with what we do, and letting that be sort of the driving force behind our reason to perform, if that makes sense. Yeah, and other than that, I would say getting to tour around the world is pretty special, and an opportunity that is not easily found at any other point in your life, I think, in the same way. And I've gotten to see so many places, including Jakarta, that I've just never been to or never sort of imagined even going to in my life, which has been special. And just the close-knitness of the group, which I think is true for every group to some extent. But I think the Dins are a particularly close kind of group of friends and lifelong family, and which is, I think, a really important part of what we do.
Yeah, for me, I think my choices were a little limited because I was a master's student at Harvard, and a lot of these college groups are only available to members of Harvard College, the undergrad school at Harvard University, which I didn't know. So actually, when I was researching, I had known about the Dins. Another group that I really liked was the Harvard Opportunes, who I'm sure you know. They're a very, very like amazing pop group, and at some point I was like, oh my gosh, like I think it would be cool to audition for the Opportune. So they were at some point actually my top group to audition for, but then I got my wishes totally crushed when I went to their like booth to audition, and then they were like, oh, we don't take graduate students, this was like a conversation we were having today about like why certain groups don't take graduate students, and I have like my thoughts on this. And in my old a cappella group at UMich, we took everyone, we let everyone audition, and I think it's the norm to let everybody audition, but I guess it's like a Harvard College thing where most groups are only available in that way to people in the college. But I then went to the Dins, and then I asked them, do you take graduate students? I asked Chris, shout out Chris, he was the one who was there that night, and he was like, oh, yes, I think, but actually let me check. And then he like ran and he checked, and I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, I was just like, waiting for a while, and then he came back and he was like, yes, we do take graduate students. I was like, yes. So I only auditioned for the Dins and another group that also took graduate students. There were only 2 out of all the groups that were there that night. I mean, like, the pitchers weren't there that night, like they weren't auditioning anymore, so I don't know if they take grad students, I don't know. But yeah, so that's, between the other group and the Dins, I definitely resonated with the music of the Dins, the complexity of the Dins music, and I like the Dins music is hard, but it's interesting. Like I think like it's interesting to learn and to challenge yourself and be like, wow, like this is like pretty complex music, and like to hear it come together like in the audition and like beyond, I was just like, wow, this is something that I've never seen before. And then also like the vibes of the group, I ended up choosing the Dins over the other group.
Hi, sorry. I actually kind of got shocked when you guys said SVP because I went there when I was a bit younger. Now I go to a school, as you can see, named Chikal. And our schools, these are basically like, it has a reputation, namanya Inter, Sekolah Inter, right? In Indonesia. And I just want to ask, really, for Sekolah Inter kids that, go to international competitions, events, like for example, I actually won at Harvard Worldman, just humble flex. But yeah.
Wow.
For us, but we might not have like all of the capabilities of like $1 million to go to Harvard. What would be your suggestion to go to college to? Thank you.
So are you asking about like the different other options of colleges? Just to clarify.
I'm referring more to like the compromises, like maybe let's say someone wants to take law, like they need to take it in Indonesia, of course. They can't go to Harvard Law, obviously. And maybe also regarding other options of scholarship and that kind of thing. Thank you.
Yeah. I guess yeah. So I was also an anak inter, I guess you could say. I went to Mentari, Jakarta, until I was in 10th grade. And then I think a big part of your question, I know it's quite difficult, and I know different schools have different amounts of resources allotted for like how much information you can get about certain colleges. I'm sure like it's the same in the US, where like I know like you were talking about your experience with the Common App, which like I think would be interesting. But for me at least, I think a big part of it is to research and to know what options are available. So for example, let's say if your dream is to go to Harvard Law, you know that you can't actually train to be a lawyer in America unless like you want to practice it, because you can't practice the kind of law that is in America and like come back to Indonesia and practice. What you can do is you can go to a law school in Indonesia, become a lawyer here, practice here, but then if you still really want to go to Harvard Law, you can still go to Harvard Law, take a master's degree, take a an LLM degree. You can do that, and a lot of people do that. So there are ways to still attend institutions that maybe you couldn't attend as an undergrad. You just have to be open to it. For me personally, I did a thing where I transferred from a college in Seattle to like a larger university. So I did like a 2-and-2 program. Like we can talk more if you're interested in that. But I knew that would kind of bar me from going to an Ivy League, and I had kind of like made peace with that. But there are so many great schools, and the school that I ended up going to, the University of Michigan, is like I still sing UMich's praises every day. I think like the Dins know how much I love Michigan, and then I still was able to go to that school and get an amazing education and like do all the things I dreamed of doing, and still do another dream of going to Harvard. So there's always some way that maybe like you don't yet know. And I know it's hard again to find out by yourself, but sometimes you just have to like look and like discover, and like there's some sense of like if I really want to do this, then I'm gonna find out. So like whatever your passion is, whatever you want, just like try and find out. And like I think you should talk about your Common App thing. I think it's like kind of relevant.
Wait, what thing? Sorry.
Where like you're like the only person from like your school who applied through the Common App.
I mean, yeah, so for context, I come from a really like rural part of Oklahoma, and I was like the only person I think who has ever applied to an Ivy League from my school. So obviously I was the first person to ever go to Harvard from my school. So it was definitely something that I did not think was possible. Like I really learned everything through genuinely YouTube videos that I would just like watch for 12 hours a day in like middle school. But I really do think that is a testament to like you can find the information is out there, and like if you really put your mind to it, like it can happen. Like I think that I think that people are, like Allegra was mentioning earlier with regards to something else, I think that people are very limited sometimes just by what they don't think can be possible. But I think that like seeing that someone like e.g. like Allegra coming and doing going to Harvard, you know what I mean? Like seeing someone making it possible shows that it can happen. And with regards to scholarships, something I want to mention, a lot of universities, particularly like Ivy Leagues, top 20, etc., have really wonderful financial aid programs. A lot of people don't talk about this because the price when you look at it online, it's like $90,000, etc., and you're like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do that. But it's entirely needs-based. For example, like I'm on a full like scholarship to the school, which is fantastic and makes it possible for me. But this is a wonderful program, and they also have like other universities have a lot of needs-based as well as merit-based aid that you can apply for. So. Yeah.
All right, a question now from from those watching at home. Michelle from Instagram is asking, has social media changed the popularity of a cappella music among young people?
Yes, 100%. 1,000%. We 2 years ago in 2024, we had a video. I was talking about Copacabana earlier. We had a video of our performance of Copacabana go really viral on Instagram, which sort of then in turn propelled like a lot of opportunity for the group. It was right around the time we were starting our tour 2 years ago, so it was really convenient. Like it gave us a nice kind of headwind going into that. But definitely, like I think, like for a lot of people, it meant exposing them to a style of music, like a style of a cappella they hadn't encountered before. I also don't think we're the only, like I think other groups have seen similar things happen online, including other groups at Harvard as well. And so it's definitely like with the modern social media landscape, it's such a different way of reaching young people in particular, and sort of inspiring them, as Allegra said, to like strive to do something like this. So yeah, definitely has changed the landscape, I think.
Another question from the audience? All right.
Thank you. My name is Firza. Well, I'd like to ask, since you guys chose the niche path, I would say, you're choosing the genre of jazz, like how often you guys upgrade the numbers you guys performing? Like, there's not many options, to be completely honest. I listen to jazz a lot, but, you know, how do you upgrade the songs that you guys performing? So I would like to know, like, how often?
Yeah, so something that I find really amazing about the Dins is that basically every single song that we perform is an arrangement done by one of the members that's either like currently in the group or was in the group in the past. So we have a lot of like, for example, our signature song is Shaboom, which was arranged by Din number 1. But then we also every year, either our music director or anyone in the group who's interested in learning how to arrange can like arrange a new song. A lot of them are jazz songs, etc., like you mentioned. But we have also opened up to like more poppy, different types of music. But I do think it's really wonderful that we get to perform songs that were arranged by other Dins.
We have this online library that's for members of the group as well, where we can actually all go on an online page and look at every arrangement that we've ever had in the history of the 47 years of the group, which is kind of a cool way of like seeing how stuff changes over time and what we do now versus kind of what we tend to do back in the day. But it gives us a lot of options, and we're always arranging new stuff.
All right.
Hi guys, I'm Greg. Previously, when William asking you guys about the dream collaboration, you told us that there were a few names came out like Ariana Grande as well as Frank Sinatra. And now my question to you guys, each of you, is there any specific artist or musical figures that you idolize or look up to? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, the type of music that I tend to listen to is a little different from the music that I sing. But I really like R&B, so I like old 2000s R&B. I like Tamia, Aaliyah, Prime Core, and then also like some more recent artists, Kehlani. Not R&B, but Keshi I've been listening to a lot lately. SZA, Chloe and Halle. I like these artists, and then I also listen to a lot of pop, so Ariana Grande is a big inspiration. Billie Eilish, I guess, is another one. But in my family, like my grandpa sings, as I think I mentioned before, he's into like a lot of classic songs as well. So I guess those I grew up listening to, and I like those kinds of songs too, which we do a lot in the Dins.
I think that my music taste as a child was strictly Broadway shows. So a lot of the people I look up to are just like Broadway stars. I really love like Sutton Foster, another big one, Kristen Chenoweth, who's actually from Oklahoma. So I'm very much just like, oh, I love you. But I think that being really into this like Broadway, etc., kind of influences how I like perform as well in the Dins.
Yeah, I mentioned Frank Sinatra earlier as somebody I really look up to as a vocalist, of course, but somebody I think who very much aligns a lot with the kind of style of, not all, but some of the music that we do. I also was kind of raised on musical theater, so I would add the great Stephen Sondheim from musical theater, who wrote so many of the great musicals. And yeah, we have some Sondheim arrangements in our repertoire. Not at the moment, I don't think, but some years we have in the past. So occasionally comes into play with the Dins as well. Yeah.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. So would anybody from the audience like to? All right, then. I think we'll give the last question to somebody watching from home. So Diana from Instagram once again is asking, what skills are most important for someone who wants to sing a cappella?
I think being a really good listener is important, and it's something that we're trained on. I think from the moment we kind of start in the group, is without any instruments, any sort of errors in tuning, errors in balance are really, really apparent to the audience. And those are things that we have to work very hard on. But I think the number one skill, and something that we look for a lot when we audition people to the group, is like people who not only are really good singers, but who can listen and fit in with the people around them. And we actually, like, that's why when we audition people, we make them sing actually our real arrangements and real music that we do, and sing with us, to get a sense of like how are they going to be able to fit in. So I think always listening, and I think that's something our music director Kieran would probably say as well.
I was gonna say the same thing. Like, I guess another thing that came up in mind was blend, which is like kind of related to listening, where if you've done like any choir, any other group singing in general would be important, where you have to know how to blend, and you have to kind of sound as a group like the same voice, but in like different voices, if that makes sense. So we don't want anybody to be really sticking out in tone or in like the way that you like shape your vowels or like pronounce your words. So I think the ability to blend, which I guess is an extension of the ability to listen, but I think other than that, also just like an understanding of the music that you're singing, like, some like dramaturgically, like sometimes we ask like, wait, what is happening dramaturgically speaking in the song? Like, what is the song about? What are we trying to say with this song? Like, how should we be performing this or presenting this? I think is important too.
Another thing I would say is maybe just having the ability, and I guess not being embarrassed to just like try and go for it, whatever you're singing and you're performing. Like it's better to be, I don't know, loud and wrong than like quiet and like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just so that we can make sure we can fix it, or you can like explore those different facets of your performance on stage and whatnot. Yeah.
Ben, Cassidy, Allegra, once again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It has been such a pleasure getting to know the people behind the music, the performances, and of course, the green socks. Everyone, please give a huge round of applause to Benjamin Arthurs, Cassidy Crabb, and Allegra Isdar of the Harvard Din Tonics. And if you haven't already secured your seats, the Harvard Din Tonics will be performing tomorrow at 5 p.m. at City Walk Sudirman. So if tonight has made you curious about what happens when Harvard students and incredible vocal arrangements come together on one stage, then tomorrow is your chance to find out. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and have a wonderful evening, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much to our speakers and also moderator. Can we give them another round of applause, everyone? Yes. Thank you so much once again to our speakers, Cassidy, Allegra, and also Benjamin, for sharing with us your stories, and also to our moderator, William, for navigating today's discussion. And everyone, earlier in this event, we had a social media quiz for our online viewers. And the question was, is it true or false the term a cappella comes from Italian? And the correct answer to that is true. They mean in the manner of the church or in the manner of the chapel. And shout out goes out to at Katerina Siaha 92 from Instagram for answering the question correctly. And if everyone here is interested in attending more events in Ad America, you can simply follow us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and also YouTube and X at AT America for more of our informations and also updates. And also have a visit on our website at www.atamerica.or.id. Once again, thank you so much everyone for joining our event today. My name is Ara and see you at the next Ad America event. Thank you everyone.